Hello, this is Earthly Moment, but you can call me Richard. Today I'll be doing a walkthrough of my track with my friend Skeffy called I See What You've Become. If you haven't heard it, here it is. And if you have heard it, well, you just heard it again. So let's get right into the project file. So starting off, we have this alarm sample here. It's just pitched down here, but I'll show you it's more clear here. So what this actually comes from is from a 90s sample pack. I was watching this video about samples used in older video games, and this was in a Devil May Cry song, and I thought it sounded really cool, and I wanted to use it, so I went and find the sample pack. The next bit is this vocal chop, which is also from that same construction kit sample pack. So if you find that sample pack, it'll be in the same construction kit. Next is this little glitch that happens here. This is from the Sample Science Twisted Drums. There's a few glitches in this track that have samples from that sample pack. Next in this intro section is a messed up version of the drop. This is what it sounds like. So basically what I have is Digitalis and a love filter on this. The love filter is on some preset going around. It's one of these presets. Got a little reverb that automates in, Digitalis automates in, and kind of does some spectral data deconstruction. And then got some free clip to control peaks and EQ to control resonances. Another couple samples is just this riser cello thing. Just a splice sample. Another sample is this reverse vocal effect to bring in the vocal chops. I have a chopped up bit of the drop here. Just to preview the drop. Some pitched up and glitched out vocals from Skeffy's vocal samples. Yeah, so it's just pitched up and mess around with. Nothing too crazy is happening here. Just some free de-essing. This VST is free. This to control more high end and low end, and then some TDR Nova, which is some controlling of just some resonant frequency. I guess I didn't like. We got a snare that I made, little pre-shifted clap. We got the drums, which I love how I made the drums in this track. Just hear it by itself. So these drums are really dynamic. Just starting off with the solo samples, just a sample with just a basic kick I made with OTT. Then next is just some hats. I believe I made all these hats. They're all just samples I made. And then, but the most important stuff that's happening here is the post-processing. Some small phase distortion, and this big crush is literally not on here. I don't know if it ever automates on. A shaper box that is doing most of the heavy lifting besides the saturation and distortion plugins here. The shaper box is doing the most heavy lifting because I have white noise set on an envelope mode, which means that it follows the peaks of the drums, and it's set to the fabric scrape preset of the noise. Just to preview the drums without noise, this is what it sounds like. So it sounds pretty cool, but this white noise gives it a lot more dynamic qualities. Fills the frequency spectrum and makes the drums wider as well. Also, there is this little ARP. And it's just panning left and right. It is just a Vital sample that I made. It's just a small little square wave with some EQ and stuff on it. Panomatic is doing the heavy lifting on the panning there. Oh yeah, also the bass. The bass and the drop track have a very interesting relation with each other. So they're both going, so it's these two, going into 52, and I'm processing them together. They're getting OTT together. And then this filter is doing the cutoff that happens sometime later in the song or something. I don't remember. Tape stop, free tape stop. And then this limiter is doing a little bit of limiting, but it's mainly for my side. So anyway, let's get on to the verse. It's mostly pretty similar to the beginning, but it's featuring Skeffy's vocals. And I'll show you the processing without the processing. I decide 'cause very clean. but I wanted it to be, you know, crunchier. So we've got some Alter Boy. I'm shifting it up with a little bit of distortion, little chorus to give it a width. OTT to bring it up more, balance it out. Phaser might be turned on somewhere. I don't know. Some passive reverb. I might have thought about adding white noise onto his vocal, but I don't remember actually doing that. EQ to control some S-ing, more de-essing after that. This is a free de-esser, it gets the job done. Limiter to control peak. Yeah, so this is, I was just gonna talk about, there's a couple new elements that happen here. There's this little grain delay thing. I made this one Quanta. This is from a random trap sample, like a trap sample pack. There's his, he's advertising right there. I don't need to find the back. So I just have this really low in the back, but you can hear it in the back. Adds just so much to the back of the track. That's just so much. So yeah, we've got some vocal chops. The drums are still going, just with a slightly unique pattern here. Still the same thing. Break chop comes back in. I love the Prida snare. Everyone who knows EDM has heard that sample. It's a great sample. I love the Prida snare, and I'm not ashamed to say it. Reverse Prida. What is this? Oh, I just have it reverse into itself. Yeah, and this one's pitched up a little bit. And then there's also this this sample is, the main work is Destructor on some preset. Then you've got delay, which might come on sometime. I don't know. OTT is crunching the frick out of this bad boy. EQ to cut out your lows. And it has this really cool tail because the EQ's after the delay. All that's really happening new here is the ARP comes back in, and then there's this piano. So my very first session where I was working on this track, I wish I could still show you. This was the initial idea I had for the track that was going on. It was like supposed to be a D&B track, which is why it's at 185. I wanted it to be a super fast drum and bass track. This was just a little short intro idea I had thrown down. These compressed pianos out of Kontakt, wherever they're at. Oh, let me turn these on. There you go. There's nothing special about that. It kind of sounds crappy. It was just an intro I was working with. Well, I ended up turning off the Sky Keys and the Serum and just leaving these two. And I thought it fit well here. I just make use of that here. What's happening is Kontakt with the Unicorda. I love the Unicorda library for Kontakt. It's only about $100 and it runs in the free Kontakt player. And then I have it set onto the continuous setting. This is this style. So it's not crunching at all. Not like going around, but here. Sustaining crackles is turned on, and that makes it sound like grainy. And then we've just got a little Reese and Harmer. That's what's happening in here. Nothing special going on in this, but it's cool. I think it gives a kind of unique downtime in the middle of the track. Sorry about my CPU. And then we've got this vocal chop here. All I did was format shift the vocal chop down. Got a short switch, a short white noise sample here into itself. Nothing crazy here into the build. A loop for the build. I think I just got that off. A splice. A sub drop. I love sub drops. This is a uplifter that I use in literally almost every one of my tracks now. It's a splice uplifter. There you go. You can see the name if you want it. It's right here. I used it in All for Nothing, my song with Inari. Shameless plug. Then there's just this small, did I make this sample? Yeah, I made this snare. And it's just pitching up with the frequency shifter. Yeah. And then before the actual drop, there's a vocal chop that happens into the break chop from earlier. And then the impact goes up. Now let's get on to the drop. Let's get the boring stuff out of the way. The drums. Yeah. Yeah. These, I think these drums are all drums I made. So it's a kick I made in Serum for sure. This is a layer of a few of my snares that I've made. And then I pitched it up here. And then these hats, 2 hats I made, both Serum. Yeah, that's about it. And then there's this like white sample that's over this snare. The processing on the drums is fairly simple. It's probably just gonna be OTT, yeah. And then some EQ controlling stuff. And then more control. And then crunch to a clipper. Snare, yeah, just EQ and clip. Crunching it. There's this hat loop. Just to give it a little more body in the drop. And then this vocal sample. You can see what pack it's from right there. That's a free packet, I'm pretty sure. There's the same art from earlier. But this time, you know, it's still panning around. It's just bounced to audio. After that, we've got the white noise hit from earlier. And then this vocal sample from Liar. There you go. That's from Splice. And I think I pitched it up. Maybe I didn't. Yep. Nothing. It's just EQ. Don't be afraid to like just not process everything. You don't need to kill everything. The only other thing besides the main drop elements for this part is just this just vocal running throughout the drop. All right, onto the drop sound, the main sound, the star of the show. All right. All right. So what's happening here? How the frick did I do all this? Well, pretty easily, actually. These are all the little parts. How did I do all this? And why is it just a bunch of audio slices? So, what I love to do is when I'm not doing anything and having sound design sessions, not writing songs, I like to just make myself my own loops. Take them and chop them up. And it's one of the main ways I make drops, or pieces of music, is by doing this. So just for example, I guarantee you we could find them. Watch, I'm gonna go find the original of this one just to show you what I mean. There we go, Slice of Life. So this is the original sample that I made. Right. So that's it. Super crunched out, super OTT'd. The frequency shifter is doing some frequency shifting around there. Got some fast distortion, crunching the frick out of this. OTT crunching the frick out of this. The vocoder comes on to crunch the frick out of it sometimes. Like here. If you hear it. See, if I turn it off. So the vocoder is shoving that volume way too loud into the free clipper, which is crunching the frick out of it after the vocoder hits it. And then we got some EQ to control it, blah, blah, blah. So I arranged all this, made the drop, all these different samples. Yeah, it's one of these samples. And that's how I make drops usually. Then what I did was I bounced it all to audio. Then I could control it easier. And what I'm doing here is some mid-side EQ on the bounced signal, the bounced track of all the different assorted samples so I can control it better. And then, you know, more EQ. This comes down sometimes, somewhere later. Well, I didn't end up using this Nova. This turns on when the vocals are happening in the second, the third drop, to give more room to the vocals. EQ, span, free clip, that's your usual stuff. Then the only other thing that happens really in the drop is some white noise layering. It's just really wide. It's actually not really wide at all. I don't know why I didn't turn on the stereo. I don't know. Sometimes you look back at these projects and you just are like, what was I doing? Fill in the drop. That's a sample I made. It's using GMS. That's a free plugin in FL if you've never used it. Go in GMS and click randomize a bunch of times. It'll give you some crazy sounds. The drop is mainly the same. There's this sample which I made. Yep, that happens before. And then there's this sample I made. There we go. Laser sample, chopped it up to make it fit the triplet fill that happens here. So that's actually interesting. It's the individual layers of the snare. You can see all three of them here. I just spread them out to make a fill. And then layered it with the triplet laser. Yeah, we have a the drums cut for a second there. Nothing crazy is happening besides that. One thing I'm not talking about is the snare fill that happens here, which is actually pretty cool. It like layers on top of what the So I just machine gunned the laser basically. I mean the snare. Yeah, for this time. There's a brief build break between next two drops. It's basically the same build. The vocal chop that happens before the drop is different here though. So there's this like glitch that I did where I just took the end of this vocal sample and just repeated it a bunch of times, and the pitch goes up to make it sound like it glitched out. There you go. Nothing too gnarly there. This drop is largely the same as the first drop, but there is a few minor elements. There's this like jazzy almost type stab that I made. Yeah. So, and that plays on and off throughout the track, and I'll go after that in a second. But the only other thing that's unique, if I remember, is this. And it's that from that same Sample Science Twisted Drums pack. It's just glitching out. Let's talk about this stab here. The transient's just a laser sample. All right. And then this is a stab I made with Chroma doing something, and it's the without the processing, it sounds like this. With the processing, just some reverb and then free clip. Then there's this bass here that's making it up, like almost like an acid bass. And how I made that was some OTT, mid-side EQ, an EQ that's doing literally nothing, and then free clip, which is doing nothing as well, except for controlling peaks, because without it, I'm sure it goes, yeah, way loud. So yeah, that's the gnarly like vocal thing that's going on. I mean, stab thing that's going on. And also, if you check it, it's off grid, kind of. It's not off grid. It's just on the 8th note, or on the 16th note. Yeah, it's a 16th note shifted from 2. There you go. So if you listen to it, right, so it's just barely off, and it makes the drop have this like shaky feel. So yeah, that's pretty cool. There's this stab. That's just a stab I made, layering like a bass from Vital and then some chroma and something maybe, I don't know. For this little like downtime in between the drop, what I did was I took the beginning shot and ran it through something and made it crunchy and fun. Anyway, and it just reverbs out, takes you from the drop into the next verse pretty evenly. This is I put chroma on a laser and I drew the laser in the piano roll really fast, just going up. Made this sound. And then I just reverse it here. So yeah. There's this power up sound that I've made. This was made using GMS as well, to bring you into the next part. And then there's this. This is a sample I made. Yeah. The vocals come in. They're just kind of form and shifted up this time. And then there's it's the same verse drums from before, just with a little less kick drums, so that way this bass pattern can breathe. What this bass pattern is made up of this 808 sample that I made, and then this Serum preset that I made. You can see the inside of the Serum here. And then if we go to the processing on the Serum patch, it's just OTT reverb, some low end taken out, and controlling here free clip, which is controlling peaks, and then some sidechain compression here. No, the sidechain compression's here. I don't know why the second limiter's on there. And that just makes this new section. A lot of the same elements from the verse before, just with a different bass. This downtime is exactly the same as the downtime before, this mid break between the build and the verse. Then there's this slightly unique atmospheric part where I figured this last drop is so drastically unique to the rest of the song that it needed a little time to preview it beforehand. Nothing insane is happening here. It's just some basically the only thing that's unique here is the unique part, which is the growl, which reverbs out. So you have this section kind of, you're like, yo, what's that? Previewing it some. Vocal goes back and forth. I previewed a new verse that Skeffy did. This is my favorite part of the song. And so let me explain briefly what's happening here. When I work with vocalists, I like to just send them the track and give them a lot of freedom to what they want to do on it. And I say, hey, do what you want. I just need you to know that since you are doing what you want, I'm going to I might rearrange your vocals around and stuff like that, to be how I want. And then so that's what Skeffy did on this. So what Skeffy did for the first vocal is he just freestyled it, basically, this part. And this was on this section, so I kept this section here. But in the version I sent him, this drop did not exist. It was just, the song only existed up to the end of the middle drop, the one with the crazy jazz step. And so he actually does this vocal section, this one where he screams his butt off and it sounds awesome, over the first drop. He did it over here, and I was like, I just felt like it didn't really fit. I loved it, but I was like, I feel like this needs to be on a darker drop. It gave birth to this drop. And I was waiting to save this extremely heavy vocal for this big drop. So I preview it in this upcoming section. This just filters in, and the formants go up. Formants come up. I love the vocals on this track. So yeah, like I said, he did that over the first drop. And so a lot of the elements in this part of the drop are exactly the same. The drums are all the same samples and everything. The main difference is there's this pad sample. It's just a splice pad. There you go. And the growl, the big growl. And then there's this. There. That's another sample I made. I don't remember how I made that at all. Probably in Serum. The growl. Okay. So what the growl is initially is this. And what it is it was a large sound design session that I had, which sounds like this. So basically what I did was I had a saw bass walk up the C minor scale once every bar. You can back to C, D, E flat. But chroma, if you just left chroma stagnant, what you would have is you would end up with just a one stack on top of every one of those notes, and it would be the same resonances on each note. So what I did was for every note, I actually automated a different chroma on it, which gave it its own chord. So for like the C note, I had chroma force everything into probably a C minor 9 or a C minor 7. And then like for the E flat, I would have an E minor 7 or something. And that's each chroma turns on and off every time. Every time the note changes. So that's C minor. D7. E flat major. F minor. F minor. So yeah, that's these. And then there's this bass here, which is from another sound design sample I had. Those are all sounds that I made in Harmor. This is that glitch bass is Harmor. And then so yeah, I'm automating it, and the way I'm automating it and giving this crazy vowel is, if you don't know this trick, this is like sound design 101. You take a filter with a very high peak and you automate it around through at least like 2 OTTs. 3 is where you're gonna really get some crunch, but I did 2 here, maybe, I don't know why. What it does is it grabs that peak and really brings it out. So let's turn off the filter here. And then turn off that OTT and just let the vowel sit there. Ugh, that's disgusting. Ugh. Terrible. Turn OTT on. Oh yeah. Crunched up. Then that's running through some distortion. Just beefing it up thick. EQ to take out some of that high resonance in the 5K area. Disgusting stuff. Maximus is doing some work here. And the low, I think, yeah, it's boosting my lows. And then we got some sidechain. What I ended up doing was bouncing it out to audio. I've got the same stabs, but they turn on and off. The same classic drop stabs. So this again. So it comes in and out with the dubstep growls. The second half of the drop. Oh yeah, I love the second half of the drop. I have everything cut out for a second. And he did this awesome scream, and he did the reverbed out part. Oh yeah, that's crazy sounding, bro. And then so that's just running through all the normal effects that I have on the vocals. And so I just have it loop out. I have it repeat till the end of the drop. The most interesting thing that's really happening here is what I started doing to the growl here. Yeah. So I've got three different layers of what's happening on the growl here. This one is a widening layer. This is just high end. And then I have it super widened out in the stereo. So if I turn it off. Oh yeah, that's giving it more width. Good stuff on the width there. And it's just in that high end. Got some chorus on it. Got some EQ on it to not make it clash or anything with the other version. Then I have a reverb layer here, which is just on the high end. And then what I started doing was chopping up the sample to give it that, kind of reminds me of glitch chop. And then with this right here, man, it just, oh yeah, it's so like Complextro kind of, and I am a Complextro fiend. I wish that genre never died. I might try and bring it back. The only other stuff in the second drop is this Barely Alive loop, hat loop. On Splice, you can go download it right there. You see the name right here. Nothing unique really except for this. There's this laser sample. I think that's Splice as well. There you go. Go download it if you want it, if you're curious. The only thing that's a bit different about this section that bleeds out is I automate BitCrush onto this laser sample that happens in the other two measures out of the drop. Turns on. There you go. You can see the mix coming. Because this outro section is an 8-bit sort of recreation of the verse. What I did for this outro section is I just pretty much remade the drums in an 8-bit setting. And then I just used Magical 8-bit plugin for that. Great SNES like pulse response, pulse like saw wave, square wave generator. And then on top of that, I have this mimicking the ARP that happens in the drop, and then these two Magical 8-bit plugins mimicking the bass that happens in the middle verse. One is playing the 7th. And all of it recreates that middle verse in a minimal way. Using the most important elements, I bring out this sample. And then the vocal has some crunchiness, some digitalis that comes in on it. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it just kind of fades out the volume. This is just the vocal that I've pitched up here. I have rendered out and pitched up. So yeah, that's pretty much how I made this track. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you maybe learned something. I don't know how to do these in a concise way yet. I'm trying to learn because my songwriting process is so disorganized, and as you can tell from my project file, this is what they all look like for the most part. They're all disorganized, loads of crap like this. So trying to figure out how to concisely explain my thought processes in these will be interesting, but I hope I learn and get better at it. I hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something. If not, I hope you at least enjoyed the video somehow if you made it through this, however long this video ends up being. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the track. Go stream it. It's out everywhere. I See What You've Become by me, Earthly Moment, with Skeffy doing the vocals. So thanks for watching.